Listen to me when I tell you. I stand tall behind Royalty Financial. It took me 2 years to build my brand. So no, I cannot file school on your tax return if you've never been to school. No, I cannot file a W-2 for you that somebody has created for you. If your last tax preparer has done it for you, then I suggest you go to them.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Robert Townsend. Tonight, we begin with new information about that police pursuit that ended with 2 people dead last night in South St. Louis County.
The thing to know here is that the Missouri State Highway Patrol identified them as Delisha Evans and Ryan Phillips. In an interview you'll only see with 5 on Your Side, a friend of Evans tells me the former couple had a complicated relationship.
I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm hurt. Her soul was just amazing. Like, can't nobody say nothing bad about her. She was a very friendly, happy person.
What if the place you felt safest, your own home, became a scene of unimaginable horror? What if the very walls meant to protect you became a trap? Princeton, Texas. A quiet morning shattered by the wail of sirens. It's Friday, September 6, 2024, and firefighters race towards a house on Winding Meadow Trail. Smoke billows from the windows, flames lick at the roof. It's a scene of chaos, of destruction. But as the firefighters battled the blaze, they uncovered something far more disturbing than a simple house fire. The fire, they quickly realized, wasn't accidental. Evidence pointed to arson. Someone had intentionally set this fire. But the shock didn't end there. As the smoke cleared and the firefighters began their search, they discovered something chilling. The homeowner was nowhere to be found. Family members told officers that she had not been seen since Wednesday. This immediately raised concerns, and the Princeton Police Department knew this wasn't just a missing person case. This was something much more serious. She was then declared a critical missing person. The investigation had only just begun, and the truth, as they would soon discover, was far more twisted and heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined. This was just the first piece of an intricate and deadly puzzle. This is the story of Delisha Evans, a Texas woman whose life took a devastating turn when flames engulfed her home, revealing a mystery far more complex than anyone could have imagined. This isn't just a story about a fire. It's a story about obsession, control, and a severe warning that was ignored. Welcome to Mind Twist True Crime Stories, where all our stories are based on true crimes. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel, hit the notification bell icon so you won't miss any of our latest stories. Who was Delisha Evans, the woman at the heart of this tragedy? Behind the headlines and the harrowing events, Delisha was so much more than a victim. She was a devoted mother, a loving sister, and a woman with dreams that were cruelly cut short. Delisha D-Day Evans, born on October 13, 1991, in St. Louis, Missouri, was a devoted mother to her 2 daughters, aged 13 and 4. Balancing motherhood with running a successful business, she was the owner of Royalty Financial Advisors, which helps people start and build a business. Delisha Evans, just 30 years old, was described by those who knew her best as fiercely protective of her 2 children. She wasn't just their mother, she was their safe place. Friends and family remember Delisha as a beacon of strength and kindness. Her best friend, Kiera Brooks, recalls, she was a very friendly, happy person. She was a light in this world. Family members remember Delisha's love for cooking. Her Sunday dinners were legendary in her circle. Her younger sister, Tamika Evans, said no matter what she was going through, she'd be in the kitchen whipping up something special. That's just who she was. Delisha's life was not without its challenges. She had ended a tumultuous relationship with Ryan Phillips, a man with a criminal past. Despite their breakup, Phillips remained a looming presence in her life, often claiming he had cancer to elicit her sympathy. Brooks noted, "She has a big heart and she fell for that." He willed her back in by him guilt-tripping her with the cancer. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Delisha confided in friends about her fears. She reported instances of harassment and threats from Phillips, expressing concern for her safety and that of her daughters. Tragically, her apprehensions were not unfounded. On September 6, 2024, a fire broke out at Delisha's home while her 2 kids were in school. She was nowhere to be found. What kind of man could orchestrate such a tragedy? To understand the answers, we must look at Ryan Phillips, a man whose troubled history seemed to signal danger at every turn. Ryan Phillips, 33, was no stranger to law enforcement. In 2014, he was convicted of shooting at 2 police officers in St. Louis, an act that landed him in prison for a decade. His rap sheet also included charges of armed criminal action and assault, a pattern of violence that spanned years. Despite this, Phillips was granted parole in 2021, with more than 3 years of credit for time served. How does a man with such a record end up free to destroy another life? How could Delisha even get in a relationship with a man with such worrisome history? Those who knew Phillips described him as manipulative, a master of guilt and deceit. After his release, he reconnected with Delisha Evans, claiming he had terminal cancer. Friends of Delisha recall how she was drawn back into his orbit, her compassionate nature exploited by his lies. But it wasn't long before his true nature began to show. Phillips' behavior became increasingly erratic and threatening. Delisha reported multiple incidents to the police: stolen money, a stolen car, and even threats against her life. He would often break into her home, leaving her fearful and anxious for her daughter's safety, until she ended the relationship in August 2024. But he still won't let her go. What would you do if someone refused to let go of your life after you have made it clear to the person that you don't want to be around them anymore? The weeks leading up to Delisha's disappearance were marked by disturbing red flags. Friends say Phillips openly told her, "I will kill you." Despite the growing danger, the legal system seemed powerless to intervene. On the day Delisha went missing, her home caught fire. Phillips was later seen driving her car, a haunting prelude to what would unfold. But there's one detail authorities hadn't anticipated. What happened inside that car, and how did it lead to the deadly standoff in Missouri? Why didn't she just leave? That's the question so many ask when it comes to toxic relationships. But in Delisha Evans' case, walking away wasn't just hard, it was dangerous. Delisha Evans, a loving mother of 2, had tried to end her relationship with Ryan Phillips multiple times. But every time she distanced herself, Ryan found a way to pull her back in. Friends say Delisha made it clear she wanted to move on. Yet Ryan's response was anything but simple. He began showing up uninvited, breaking into her home, and even taking her car without permission. Delisha's efforts to create boundaries were met with resistance that turned into outright threats. He told her, "If I can't have you, no one will." Have you or someone you know faced similar struggles? But Ryan's control wasn't just emotional, it was physical. Delisha documented his abuse, filing police reports about his violent behavior. Despite her cries for help, the system couldn't or wouldn't step in. Do you think more should have been done to protect Delisha? The father of her 2 lovely kids tried to warn her about Philip. He told her something doesn't just feel right about that man. He told her he was scared having that kind of man around his kids. But Delisha ignored. She said she had everything planned out and she would take care of the issue. She said she would delete the chat. Probably she didn't want Phillips to stumble upon the chat. Then she said, "If anything goes down, just know Ryan Phillips is the name." Most times when a baby daddy is warning his ex-baby mama about the kind of guys she hangs with, it is often seen as he is jealous, but it can only take man to know a man and his capabilities. In the early hours of September 6, 2024, a fire consumed the home of 30-year-old Delisha Evans in Princeton, Texas. When firefighters arrived, Delisha was nowhere to be found. Her sudden disappearance, coupled with the suspicious blaze, set off alarm bells among her family and friends. The disappearance of a young mother under such suspicious circumstances garnered significant media attention. News outlets across the region covered the story, and social media platforms were flooded with posts sharing Delisha's photo and information. The community rallied together, organizing search parties and vigils, all hoping for her safe return. Authorities quickly launched an investigation, declaring Delisha a critical missing person. The community's concern deepened as hours passed with no sign of her. Law enforcement agencies across state lines were alerted, and a multi-state search ensued. The search intensified when police identified Delisha's ex-boyfriend, Ryan Phillips, as a person of interest. Phillips had a history of violence and had previously threatened Delicia's life. Then, on September 7, 2024, a breakthrough occurred. Missouri state troopers spotted Phillips' vehicle on Interstate 44 in St. Louis County. A high-speed chase ensued, ending in a rollover crash and a shootout that left Phillips dead. Tragically, Delicia's lifeless body was found inside the vehicle, bringing the search to a heartbreaking conclusion.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Robert Townsend. Tonight, we begin with new information about that police pursuit that ended with 2 people dead last night in South St. Louis County. 5 on your side's Annie Kroll returned to the scene today and spoke with people who saw the aftermath of the crash, as well as a close friend of the woman found in that vehicle, Annie.
Robert, the thing to know here is that the Missouri State Highway Patrol identified them as Delicia Evans and Ryan Phillips. In an interview you'll only see with 5 on your side, a friend of Evans tells me the former couple had a complicated relationship. Police cars everywhere at this Afton intersection. Around 5:40 Friday night, an SUV rollover crash on South Rock Hill Road near Party Road, captured in real time through the bushes of Kyle Motors' home.
We saw cops with shields coming out. We knew the situation was pretty dire.
Troopers began a pursuit eastbound on Interstate 44 after the driver refused to pull over. The SUV exited onto South Elm Avenue and continued to South Rock Hill Road, where neighbors said they saw a gun lying on the ground next to the car after the suspect fired at police. Motor heard 10 to 15 shots and saw a car flipped over.
I heard the gunshots, and then we got down and knew that it was not a usual scene for this area.
It's a story that starts all the way back in November of last year near Dallas, Texas. Delicia Evans, known as Dee Dee, started dating Ryan Phillips, both from St. Louis. Friend Salome Momo said she'd had issues with him in the past.
On multiple occasions, he told her that he would kill her.
The couple fought often, Momo said, and broke up in August. Evans was a loving mother to her 13 and 4-year-old daughters. According to Momo, Evans was last seen Wednesday night. Her teenager asked where her mom was. Phillips, who was still around, said Evans was asleep upstairs. The next 2 days, he drove the 13-year-old to school in a rental car. Then on Friday, Evans' house scorched, Momo saying arson was involved. Police in Princeton, Texas activated a critical missing person alert Friday morning, saying Phillips was the primary suspect in Evans' disappearance. License plate readers helped locate Phillips' SUV in St. Louis County, which initiated the pursuit.
The understanding of is that she was already not alive when she was in the car.
If she could say anything to Phillips,
He took someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone's mother. Selfishly, we'll never get a why. We'll never get to a place of understanding.
According to some sources, they said Delicia was already dead in the car before the chase, the crash, and shootout. There is still an ongoing investigation to ascertain the cause of her death, since it wasn't from the crash or the shootout. The discovery of Delicia's body marked the end of the search, but opened up a new chapter of grief and unanswered questions. Investigations into the circumstances of her death continued, and the community mourned the loss of a beloved mother, friend, and neighbor.
When your loved ones are telling you and giving you that warning, pay attention to it. No matter how you can see that good in that other person, but if everybody on the outside looking in can see and tell you, baby, walk away, walk away, walk away.
Ryan Phillips had a documented history of violence. His decade-long imprisonment for assault and repeated threats against Delicia painted a clear picture of danger. Yet somehow, he was allowed to walk free, unsupervised, without the safeguards that could have prevented this tragedy. How does someone with such a record slip through the cracks? Parole monitoring is supposed to act as a safeguard, especially for individuals with violent pasts. But in Ryan's case, it was glaringly absent. No one was keeping track of him. No one was ensuring that he didn't pose a threat to others. And most importantly, no one was protecting Delicia. They tried contacting Phillips' parole officer in St. Louis to ask why he was able to leave the state while on parole and has not gotten a response yet, due to the fact that he was disbarred some time ago. Domestic violence protections exist on paper. But how often do they truly protect? Restraining orders can only do so much against someone determined to cause harm. Delisha had reportedly tried to distance herself from Ryan, but his manipulative tactics and unchecked freedom allowed him to tighten his grip on her life. Why wasn't Ryan's history a red flag that triggered immediate intervention? Why weren't additional resources made available to Delisha? Resources that could have saved her life. These are questions that demand answers. Not just for Delisha, but for countless others trapped in similar situations. What do you think could have been done differently? What measures should be in place to ensure no one else suffers the same fate? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because the next life at risk could depend on what we do next. Delisha Evans was more than the tragedy that took her life. She was a devoted mother, a loving daughter, and a woman who dreamed of building a better future for herself and her children. Her 2 kids have since reunited with their father, though they lost everything in the fire outbreak at their mom's home. A GoFundMe account been set up for them. Her family remembers her as someone who always put others first, even when it meant sacrificing her own happiness. Her mother once said, "Delisha had a heart bigger than most." She loved fiercely and unconditionally. A balloon release party was held in her honor, where lots of people from the community, her friends, and her loved ones were in attendance, carrying purple balloons which seemed to be her favorite color. Her 12-year-old daughter spoke with boldness. She remained strong and even granted interviews to the media talking about her beloved mom. But Delisha's story should not end here. It's a reminder of the silent struggles many endure behind closed doors. A call for all of us to pay attention, speak up, and support those trapped in the shadows of domestic violence. Let us honor Delisha by learning from her story. Share this video. Start a conversation. Support local organizations that work to protect victims of abuse. Together, we can ensure her memory fuels change. Because Delisha's legacy is not just about what was lost, but about the awareness and action her story inspires. Let her memory shine as a beacon for others who may still have a chance to escape. Our thoughts and heartfelt prayers are with Delisha's family and friends during this incredibly difficult time. If this story moved you, if it made you think, take a moment to hit that like button. It helps bring attention to stories like this and raises awareness about critical issues. And don't stop here. Subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories that uncover the truth and honor those whose voices were silenced. Every story has a lesson. Every share has the power to make a difference. Let's make sure Delisha's legacy inspires change. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next story. Stay safe.